The warnings of King Solomon. Solomon is the wisest man in the Bible, but he did not always act intelligently. In his old age, he wrote several texts sharing the wisdom he had gained over the years. Life is vanity. Think about a typical person in a typical home who gets up early to take a shower before everyone else does so that he may get ready and leave for work on time. After a long day of labor, he sprints back to his car to beat the traffic and get home in time to eat and watch television. He sets his alarm and goes to bed, waiting to repeat the same procedure the following day. This is familiar to most people and boring too. What is our purpose in life? Why were we born? Why are we here? What are we supposed to do with the days that God has given us? These questions trouble almost everyone at some point in their lives. They are an inner search for one's place in this vast universe. Solomon grappled with these questions too. As a man who was known for his wisdom, he went on a research journey as to the significance of life, and his conclusion was that life is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1:13 and 14. I applied my mind to study, to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, chasing after the wind. This is the point that the book of Ecclesiastes makes over and over again. At the time he wrote the book, Solomon was old. He had lived life through his youth and gained a lot of wisdom, which he shared in his final days. He had gone on a great quest in search of the significance of life. After his lengthy searching, Solomon concluded that just like the churning of water in a lake, the weary activities of man on earth yield nothing valuable. He therefore wrote Ecclesiastes, cautioning us, saying, "Please don't follow my ways. Be warned of living your life incorrectly. Please learn from my mistakes so you won't repeat them. Live in communion with God. Live as though God is in charge." He warns us against succumbing to the temptations we encounter in life and claims that they are not worth the misery they will bring in the end. Most of the phrases in the book start with I. The entire time we're reading this book, Solomon is giving us a personal testimony in which he describes his journey through life and his search for enjoyment, meaning, and purpose. The subject of the vanity of vanities, all is vanity, is introduced in the first chapter. Solomon contends that there is no meaning to life. It seems like we are always on the lookout for something that will make our lives happier, more meaningful, and more complete. Ironically, even after those goals have been met, the result begins to seem less important, and occasionally even unimportant at all. Consequently, the rat chase for meaning resumes. We begin looking again for something to fulfill us. Solomon cautions against spending our lives on worthless, self-centered pursuits, calling them vanity. Vanity is a word that signifies breath or vapor, such as the quickly dissipating mist of warm breath in crisp, chilly air. The preacher uses this allegory to contrast pursuing materialistic goals such as wealth, honor, or fame, and other pleasures with feverishly grasping for air. In an attempt to find happiness, he contrasted these things in his life, and in conclusion, according to the king, everything under the sun is vanity. I said to myself, "Come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good." But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? Ecclesiastes 2:1 and 2. Oh, I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind, which was in verse 17. He claims that boredom and monotony have an inevitable presence in our lives, and all that we do is as futile as chasing after the wind. But he makes one very important point, that a life spent in communion with God and under His rule is joyful and fulfilling. Life being a vanity does not have to leave us in despair, as we have an escape, God. We all have the option of living a life that is empty, boring, and meaningless without God, or one that is joyful, exciting, and fulfilled with Him. Remember God in the days of your youth. A man needs to catch a ferry to cross the lake. Running out of time, he came running to the ferry. He arrives breathless, as he had run very fast. But the gate man shut the door right in his face. The man missed the ferry, just like that. "I guess you didn't run fast enough," a bystander commented to him. "I ran quickly enough, but I didn't start on time," the displeased man replied. Solomon gives this advice to the youth. You must begin early if you want to accomplish the most for God in your lifetime, in the days of your youth. Ecclesiastes 12:1-3. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come, and the years draw near to you when you say, "I have no pleasure in them." While the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim. One's youth is a treasured period of life. A young person is full of agility and adventure at that time. There is never a dull moment because everything is always passing by very fast. There are, of course, no restrictions as to when a person can come to Christ. According to statistics, however, the longer a person waits to accept Christ, the less probable it is that they will do so. The patterns of our lives are established in our youth. What is a must is, therefore, to remember God when you are young. It is during our youth that the foundation of our lives are set. It helps to shape our response for the rest of our lives when we establish these spiritual patterns before the rigors of maturity arrive. It's crucial to pay attention to those spiritual forces at an early stage in life. This creates a framework for how we will respond later on. As we get older, life becomes tougher. A solid spiritual foundation is the only thing that can help us get through these life's pains. Solomon, therefore, emphasizes the significance of his instruction to remember God in our childhood. Our frailties will inevitably surface, albeit more so later in life than when we are younger. Without a bigger context for suffering, these breakdowns will make it challenging to appreciate life. For this reason, it's important to reflect on our Creator and our relationship with Him early in life. Those coping skills must be established before difficult occasions arise. Growing older comes with more pressures and decreased physical stamina, so we need anything inside us that would help us go through it all. Here's the point Solomon is making. Strengthen your spiritual muscle while you're still young. Seek wisdom and knowledge. Solomon says in Proverbs 1:7, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." We are in the era of information. Our knowledge base is expanding dramatically every day. Yet information and knowledge are not the same thing. The acquisition of biblical knowledge for practical application is referred to in this context as knowledge. Knowledge is the acquisition of biblical knowledge. Wisdom is the application of the knowledge acquired. God never meant for us to be simple creatures. We run the risk of never genuinely participating in life if we don't move past the stage of mere simplicity. If we grow up knowing only the latest technology, the TV schedule, and the latest celebrity gossip, we will never have to face the significant, pervasive issues that surround human existence. God wants us to be knowledgeable. Life's too mysterious and deep for simple thinking. The extraneous influences we are exposed to, like the internet and friends, can put us at a very great spiritual risk if we do not have sound biblical knowledge to counter any ungodly information they may pass on. We have to seek the knowledge of the Lord and apply it in our lives. Fools will believe anything, but the wise think about what they do. Wise people are careful and stay out of trouble, but fools are careless and quick to act. Proverbs 14:15. Keep good company. Our genetics is wired with the need to fit in and be a part of a group. God formed us in this way. We inherited His relational nature because He is a relational being. That's advantageous because nobody ought to live alone. The Bible has many wonderful illustrations of human friendship, like Ruth and her mother-in-law, Naomi. Also, David and Jonathan were noted as being the closest of friends. Of course, when we have a relationship with Jesus Christ, He transforms into our best friend and our most reliable support system. The bad news is that not all friendships are always great. We occasionally lack a good filter when selecting friends. Someone who appears fascinating or like us attracts our attention. We do not give it much thought since we are anxious for friendship. Then, deep into it, we discover that these folks are not whom we had believed them to be. This is why we need to be careful of whom we have as friends. Solomon does not hesitate to give his worth of wisdom concerning friends. His book, Proverbs, contains many verses that give insights into friendships. See, for instance, what he says in chapter 22, verses 24 and 25. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. One of his many proverbs that may be well known to you is this one: iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Solomon knows that we are a combined product of the people we relate with. He therefore warns us to be watchful of whom we relate with closely. We have to be careful about the people we keep close as friends, because undoubtedly they will affect us. The wise Solomon warns us several times in Proverbs. The wounds of a friend are faithful, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Chapter 27, verse 6. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Chapter 18, verse 24. We must be intent on having good friends.